I managed to lose 50 kilograms of weight. Previously, I weighed 120 kilograms at a height of 160, that is, twice my weight. These were the worst days of my life, but I managed to surpass myself. Want a personal motivation story? Then watch this video and put class. My name is Leah. I was born already a large child. My weight was almost 5 kilos with a height of 50 centimeters. My mother often told me how every month it became more difficult for her to lift me in her arms. In kindergarten, I was considered the plumpest girl. It's not just about the wide bone, as they say. My parents tell me that I had a great appetite. I ate absolutely everything in a row, but unfortunately, our family did not particularly like fruits or vegetables. More often, there was junk food on the table. In addition to meat, there were a lot of flour products and a lot of sweets. I was gaining more and more pounds, and it was getting harder to move. So, by the end of school, I weighed almost 90 kilos. Against the background of thin classmates, I began to feel depressed, although it was as long as I can remember. And then I could not even pick up a beautiful ball gown. I could only fit into a tracksuit, and even the teachers didn't tell me anything about the dress code at school because they saw how fat I was. This pity on the part of the adults only made me feel worse. The family only avoided this topic, but refused to eat healthy food. I dieted 1,000,000 times and broke down, then gained twice as much as I lost. Because of complexes before the prom night, I began to eat even more and gained another 5 kilos. For this reason, I decided not to go there at all. Because I thought too much about my figure, my academic performance was poor. I didn't have any friends, and I didn't play sports, so I didn't even count on a scholarship. 3 of the colleges have denied me admission due to objective reasons. Who needs a student with 0 achievements? My parents were willing to buy my education and pay for college, but I was ashamed of them and myself. I felt worthless. One day, sitting at the TV late at night, eating another batch of buns, I saw on TV a display of beautiful evening dresses and suddenly realized that I don't have any dresses. I've had wide-leg trousers and t-shirts all my life. I stopped and looked at myself in the mirror. At that moment, I saw not only a fat body full of despair, but loneliness for the rest of my life. If I live at this pace, I will not only have no friends, but also love. I was suddenly afraid, and this fear grew with every spoonful of junk food. That night, I kept a notebook for myself where I wrote down my plans, food plan, lifestyle, and goal. I clearly scheduled everything by day of the week so as to not allow myself to snap again. The next day, I signed up for a gym that was far from home. I specifically chose one to walk back and forth. The first day I met the coach, his name was Noah. He understood me without a word and immediately drew up a program of classes. At first, it was very difficult for me. I felt the weight of my body. I was suffering from shortness of breath. My muscles were flabby like jelly. It was difficult for me among people I didn't know. All these new simulators. I didn't know what to do with them. I was very lost. My hands were shaking because I couldn't do it after 2 weeks of classes. So I came out after another failure in the hall and just roared. "Nothing will help me now. I was born fat and I will die fat," I said aloud. At that moment, my coach came up to me. Noah said that working on yourself is the most difficult and showed me his photos. No, it can't be. He was even fatter than me. I weighed 200 kilograms. Only at that moment, I had a wife and child. At some point, I got depressed just like you were eating. I ate everything, but especially a lot of hamburgers. Unbeknownst to me, I had grown so fat that I could no longer walk. Of course, I stopped working, and my wife had to support me, the child, and herself. It was hard for her, but she was silent and worked. I saw it all and hated myself even more, and then I left, so as to not hang a weight on the fragile shoulders of my beloved, he said. I asked what happened next. He said that now I see another person, strong in body and spirit. I showed you the photo, not so that you lose weight, but so that you don't give up. I have changed now. I started earning money by playing sports, but I still can't get my family back because I lost it over the years. I can't go in there now, and you don't give up. Don't make my mistakes before it's too late, he said. These words made me think about a lot. I came home and opened my notebook again. All the next day, I faithfully fulfilled all the tasks of the trainer, not sparing myself or the simulators. When I thought my heart was going to burst from the strain, I would stop, take a deep breath, and start again a few minutes later. My clothes were soaked with sweat, and my lungs were ready to burst with oxygen. But I didn't stop. About a month later, I got on the scales and I saw that I weighed not 120, but 100 kilos! Minus 20 kilos! Yeah! I screamed in tears. I couldn't believe that I had lost as much as 20 kilos in 1 month. It was only at that moment that I noticed that I had been strapping my old pants with a belt for a long time, and my t-shirt was waving like a sail. It's time for you to go shopping, Noah said, smiling. In a rush of joy, I threw myself at him and hugged him. But this was not the limit. The next day, my mother and I went shopping, where I bought a new tracksuit. My mother asked me why I didn't buy a dress like I wanted, but I said I would only do it after I lost another 30 kilos. On the way home, she told me that she and my father were more proud of me than ever. I was happy to hear that. Well, then, we went on another level of my diet and exercise. I took a double load. Over time, I noticed that sports became a way of life for me. I no longer wanted to eat unhealthy. Bad mood just because I was almost always happy. I had the pleasure aching pain in the muscles from easy dinner with a salad. Several times I was approached on the street on the way to the gym to get acquainted. Attention from the outside attracted not only elastic ass, I think I shone from the inside. After 2.5 months of intensive training, I achieved my result. My weight was 70 kilograms. After the weigh-in, I invited Noah home to celebrate. I introduced him to my parents. We had a lovely evening. The coach said I was his best student. And at the end of the dinner, my mother gave me a gift. She bought me a black evening dress, the first in my life. It was beautiful. I tearfully hugged my parents, then put on my new clothes as soon as possible. And you know, this dress has become a symbol of the will to win and work on yourself. This feeling when the back zipper closes without any problems in the back and does not cut into the fat is incomparable, I whispered to my mother. Then Noah and I went straight to the club. He said that people should see me today. Now it's time for a new life. Hi everyone, I'm Jessica. I'm 18 years old. I want to tell you my thick story. This is a fairly common problem. I weigh more than 90 kilograms. To be honest, it is difficult for me to talk about it now, and it is unpleasant to remember. But I still want to tell you about all this, because maybe then someone will think about whether they correctly characterize their life positions. I've been fat all my life, from childhood. I was born plump and round-cheeked and all. But if at the beginning it still touches the environment, the older you get, the harsher and tougher the world treats you. For girls, I believe in general, much higher requirements for external beauty than for men. This is how it's happened historically. The first time I encountered the problem that #I am not like others was when I was probably not even 3 years old. I went to a dance class at the time, and I didn't understand why some of the kids avoided me until the scorn and mockery came out in the open. And it started, I won't say that every day, but for my characteristic, I got it. Every time I tried to make friends there, the guys would say something like, "Don't be friends with her, she's fat." Can you imagine? I was only 3 years old. I still remember. Children's grievances are very difficult to forget. I don't remember if I was really fat, but I stood out for sure. There were, of course, good guys, but they were more than overlaid by those who made me remember nothing good from my childhood. But despite this, I still loved to dance. Even if I was alone sometimes, but at the moment of dancing, I forgot all the problems and did not feel plump, fluttered like a butterfly. At school, of course, the bullying did not stop, but on the contrary, became even stronger. I tried not to pay attention to them and not give them special significance. Children, I can tell you, can be very cruel sometimes. Fat lady, a barrel, a cow. What you will not hear in your address at school. I have noticed that people do not like those who stand out or somehow separate from the team. If you somehow separate, then your most noticeable feature is turned into a flaw that needs to be mocked. Smart nerd, glasses bespectacled, full fat, thin worm, etc. Besides, I didn't have any friends. I tried everything to lose weight. I went to fitness halls, followed different diets, and starved myself. But all came up empty. Because everyone treats me like this. I was kind of depressed all the time. It was only when I was eating that I could cheer myself up a little. Apparently, everything would have continued like this if I hadn't had one situation happen to me. After graduation, we started preparing for graduation. How are we? Everyone was preparing, and I just watched from the sidelines. And at that moment, the prom was supposed to be held. I loved two things, dancing and eating. But when we were sharing in pairs, I came across a very thin and tall guy named Dave. The others simply didn't want to, and he had no choice but to agree. But there was a problem. There was an element in the dance where the guys have to lift the partner and spin, and Dave wouldn't have been able to lift me or even put his arms around me. But I couldn't miss it, and I gave my word that no matter what, I would lose weight by the ball. I had 2 months to do it. I started making a strict diet plan, removed all high-calorie meals from the diet, and signed up for fitness. It was supposed to work out, but it was very stressful for my body. This plan was only enough for a day. The next day, I couldn't resist eating a bun. I guess I'm not strong enough to bear it, or I didn't want it that much. Already desperate, I just decided to go to a secret meeting of anonymous fatties, thinking that maybe there I will find some comfort for myself. I had never been to such meetings before, and I was wondering what stories someone had. Basically, everyone has the same problems. Everyone told me what they had to go through because of this, so to speak, feature. And I'm not the only one. At the meeting, I met a happy, sweet girl named Heather. Got into conversation, and I found out that we have a lot of similarities. She was also very complex because of her excess weight, tried various methods of weight loss, but all in vain. But at these meetings, she realized that being overweight is not a problem. She explained that beauty can be different, and it is not necessary to be thin. We had a nice chat, and I told her my upcoming situation, to which she replied that there is a good and unusual solution to my problem. And here is graduation day. Heather helped me pack, picked up an insanely beautiful dress, and made a stunning makeup. I admit I didn't expect to look like this myself. Everyone in school froze in surprise at the sight of me. In their eyes, I saw that they were amazed at my appearance. It gave me confidence, and I wasn't as shy as I used to be. During the dance, on the advice of my new friend Heather, on the element when guys would lift their partners in their arms, I picked up Dave instead. Everyone laughed at this moment, but it was no longer a mocking laugh, but a laugh of admiration. We even received an award for this number as the most creative dance. I will never forget that night, because that's when I realized that you don't have to be thin to be beautiful, and excess weight is not a problem. The main thing is who you are on the inside, not the outside. Friends, if you liked my story, share it with others. Maybe for someone, this video will be a reason to change their thinking.